Hello and thank you for joining us with your online property training. It's great to have you on board. I'm Rob from Property Investments UK and I just want to give you a bit of an insight here in terms of what's going to be coming up in the training for you in a second. So firstly, we look at two key property strategies. So these are property strategies that you can use to retire from your kind of 9-to-5 day job, if it were, or a career or an industry if you're not happy with it and want to look at something else, how you can achieve that with property. The strategies that we look at is one, which is a pension plan strategy, and two, which is a job replacement strategy. Now we also go and show you some case studies, some live examples of deals that we've done and clients of ours have done that showcase how you can achieve the same using these strategies. Next, we also look at 4 detailed tips and techniques on how you can go and find local property deals on your doorstep. So wherever you are in the UK, how you can use free techniques, find property deals online with estate agents, but the best deals really, how you can look and spot which are going to be motivated sellers and which are going to be the best properties to look at. Next up, we then give you some free bonus downloads and also follow it up with a bit of a plan on how you can achieve those results over a 12-month time frame. So all of this combined will put you in a position to achieve those property results that you're looking for. Now you can cut out all of the mistakes that I made when I first got started in property by joining this training. It gives you an idea of how to find the properties, what strategies to consider, and also, as I said, some free bonus downloads as well. So excited to show you the training. So I'll jump from behind the camera now and jump straight into the training and show you what we've got to deliver.
Hello and welcome to your UK online property training. I'm Rob from Property Investments UK. I just want to thank everybody today for joining me on the training. I really do appreciate it. Now in today's training we're going to be talking about how you can achieve retirement income with property within a 12-month time frame, and at the end I'll be sharing with you as well some special bonuses, including the chance for some free one-on-one mentorship with myself to help you directly with your property portfolio goals. So just as a bit of an insight in terms of what's coming up, as an example of what this kind of training means really, retirement income means essentially very different things to different people, because for some it might be a case of simply getting their pension in order, or something that gives them an income on a monthly basis and allows them to have an asset that's also got the potential to appreciate over time, whereas for others it could be a case of simply earning enough money to quit that day job. So the retirement level income could be retiring from the work or the 9-to-5 job or situation you're in. So simply by having that flexibility, if you want to continue the work but have your asset base and cash flow coming in from elsewhere, or if you want to maybe create a new career within property, we'll show you the tips and techniques to do that today. So what we're going to be looking at in your training is essentially 2 key property strategies. The first is a pension plan property strategy, and the second is a job replacement property strategy. Next up, we're going to be looking at how to find the perfect property deals in your local area. So wherever you're based, whether it's London or Liverpool, Manchester or Middlesbrough, we'll show you exactly how to find property deals that cash flow and that you can also buy at an immediate discount. In addition to that, we're going to be looking at what you can do next. So what the next kind of steps after this training, what's the 12-month kind of time frame and the plan of action to achieve this. Not only that, but for simply joining me on this training today as a gift, at the end I'll give you a couple of great free bonuses. So the first is going to be the exact estate agent negotiation and due diligence cheat sheet that I personally use on all our property deals. So whenever we're analysing a deal to buy, either for ourselves or for a client, this is the sheet that we use for that. We'll also give you the 7 golden rules checklist. So this is what we look to analyse any property deal to make sure it's even worth considering kind of purchasing. And then the third is the chance for free one-on-one mentorship directly with myself to help you with your property portfolio goals. And I'll give you access to all of those at the end of this training. So with these strategies that we're going to cover and the tactics that I'll share you and also the bonuses that we'll give you, everything combined, at the end of the training you should be able to go from not knowing anything about properties or buy-to-lets, or maybe if you've heard of other strategies like flips or HMOs, I'll show you what you need to give you an immediate advantage over your local competition to get you to this retirement target, as I said, within 12 months, so you can leave that 9-to-5 and day job, if that's indeed what you wish to do. Next up, we're going to be just a bit of admin really. So before we get started, I just want to read through this disclaimer. Now, I'm not a financial advisor and this is not intended as financial or legal advice. The information provided is solely for general education purposes and is based on my own personal experiences in property over the last 10 years. Now, as you know, investments can rise as well as fall in value, and property is no different. It can be a risky method of investment. So any individual who chooses to act upon information contained in this training should always take independent financial specialist advice before making any decision to invest in property. Like any industry, the only thing permanent is going to be change. In the past year, there's been a number of legislation and tax changes in the buy-to-let market, and we couldn't possibly cover them fully in this training, unfortunately. But suffice to say, based on everything we're seeing in the market, the current demand that we're experiencing, the market we believe is going to be stronger than ever, and there's going to be more opportunities that will arise simply because of these changes. So we see a lot of the changes coming in are going to be a good thing for the market as a whole. And before we go straight into the training, we're going to be covering a number of detailed property tactics in this training today. So it's good to clear your desk of any distractions so you can focus on it. So get the most out of today's training. What I'd recommend you do is close down any emails you've got maybe open, turn off Facebook if you've currently got that on the background, put your phone on silent if you can do, and this gives you a great chance to take in everything that we're going to be discussing, looking at, and the kind of the hands-on training that we're going to be showing you. Also, at any point in the training, either as we're going through it, maybe even after the training as you looked at today, if you've ever got any questions at all, please feel free to email me. Simply message me at rob@propertyinvestmentsuk.co.uk. I'm more than happy to help. So if you're ready, maybe grab a drink, get a pen and paper or tablet if you're a bit more technical ready, and start making some notes. We can jump straight into the training. So as a bit of a recap really, who this training is going to be for, it's really for anybody that wants to retire young, so wants to get that extra kind of income and wants to generate cash flow. It's also anybody that wants to quit their job. As we said, the plan here is to look at a retirement plan within a 12-month time frame. So if that's retiring from the current 9-to-5 job you're in, or simply if it's maybe you're looking at a longer term plan than that, so you maybe love your career or your industry at the moment, but you're thinking in the next 5-10 years you want to retire early, again, this training will show you how you can do that with property. And finally, because of the things that we discuss in the training, it is, and it does work for novice, beginners or experienced investors alike. It's not specific to one part of the market. Whether you're brand new to property or you've got some experience already, these techniques you're going to be able to use, as I said, in your local area. Now, to help give you a bit of context as well in terms of my background and also kind of where this information's coming from, I got started in property about 10 years back. As I said, my name's Robert Jones. I run Property Investments UK, and I'm 33 years old, and I currently live in South Manchester. So Manchester in the northwest typically is the area that we focus on for our own property investments. Now, from a work point of view, because of property, because of the extra cash flow it gives us, and because of the passive income it gives us as well by having that asset base there, we've managed to create a fantastic work-life balance. So as a family, I'm in a very lucky position where I only have to really work 2 days a week on checking my current portfolio and potentially working on any new deals that we're considering. The rest of the time is mine. I get to spend with my family. I've got 2 children, wife, dog, like to go cycling, so I get that chance to do those things that we want to do as a family, or just have the free time as an individual to do whatever I wish. I don't have to be in that kind of 9-to-5 work ethic, if it were. And this is only because of property. I wouldn't have been able to do this with any other kind of asset that I've looked at, really. But it hasn't obviously always been like this. When I first started out, trying to get this kind of work-life balance was very difficult. And like many people, and maybe like yourself, trying to kind of get out of that Monday, Friday kind of routine and dreading Sunday evenings was very difficult in the start. And the jobs and roles I did before I got started in property, I could never understand kind of why I was doing it. I wasn't necessarily in love with the roles. Of course, you need the income, you need the wages coming in, but apart from that, what is the kind of the point of it, if it were? You've got to be in a position where you're loving the job you're doing, or you're loving the career you're in, and you're loving what you're spending your time on, essentially, whether that's working on a Monday or a Sunday evening. You want to do it because you enjoy doing it, not because you're kind of forced into that role. In addition to that, I never really had, obviously I had wages coming in from the jobs that I was doing, but I never really had a massive kind of income, if it were, something that I could kind of rely on or retire on. And it was never really about that. I never really wanted to kind of just have the millionaire's kind of salary and work 100 hours a week to achieve that. I wanted something different. I wanted to do something that I enjoyed and that I really loved. It was more about the lifestyle and the choice element. So if I didn't want to go to work one day, I wouldn't, because I had that choice to be able to do that. I had that freedom and flexibility. Alternatively, if I wanted to work 20 hours on a new project or a new idea on a particular day, then I was able to do that because I was able to dedicate the time and the energy to that. So having that freedom, having that control was really what I was striving for. It wasn't about having a boss. I didn't want to kind of just live for the weekend. That wasn't really what I was aiming for. Now, I'll spare you the complete backstory, so you don't obviously have to look at that. But To help you, I suppose, relate from a property side of things, it was back in 2005 that I first looked at property, and that's when I first got started. Now, this was because at the time, my girlfriend's father was a builder, and he owned a number of rental properties. He was doing really well from it. He worked the hours he wanted. He seemed to love his job. And my parents, actually, as well, from my side, also, I grew up working in bed and breakfasts and some hotels, because that's what my kind of parents' industry was. And they also had a buy-to-let property on the side that seemed to work out really well. So that combination of property and income seemed perfect. So in 2005, after scraping a deposit together, we managed to purchase our first buy-to-let property with my girlfriend. And this was this particular property here. So it was a 3-bedroom terrace in Warrington in the northwest. Now, at the time, I was still only 23 years old. I was certainly nothing special, far from it. I had unstable work hours at that point in time as well, because the job I was doing was a personal trainer, so it was quite erratic, and the times that I would work. I also had a £30,000 debt that I'd racked up from a previous business, so I had a severe lack of starting capital to get started. And on this particular property, to combine with all of that, we also made a lot of mistakes, like very easy mistakes or very basic mistakes when you first getting started in property. But if you've got no necessarily training or education or somebody that can show you a little bit about what to look for, they're very easy to make. So on this first property, as an example, we overpaid by at least £10,000. Also, in addition to that, the rental that it generated wasn't really enough to make the deal work as a buy-to-let. We hadn't really researched the market properly. We knew it would rent, and we knew what sort of rental income it might bring in, but we didn't really compare that to our costs, the cost of the mortgage, the cost of the outgoings, and certainly didn't look at the comparisons on what prices we're selling for, as we said. So we overpaid, and we also didn't have a good rental income coming in from a figures basis. So it's not a great combination to be in on your first deal. Then if we fast forward a year to about 2006, I'd gone through a massive learning curve with this particular or first property, but I loved it. I loved the industry. I loved the idea of it, and I could see its potential. I knew if I was going to do property properly that I needed to commit to learning and understanding more, certainly improve my kind of level of experience and education, and also contacts. So in December 2006, I applied for a job as a trainee negotiator for a local estate agent and thought I'd learn really from the ground up how property worked. Now, apart from the 9-to-5 element of it, that particular kind of career job I really liked, because the estate agents that I worked for turned out to be a fantastic choice. They provided great on-the-job and practical training, so we learned how to value houses, how to negotiate sales and deal with kind of vendors and also buyers. We also learned how to spot minor defects in a property before we'd kind of bring it on as a listing. Also deal with solicitors as well. So it was a fantastic grounding for what I needed at the time to kind of get started in property. But fast forward again a few years from that, I've now got a fully kind of functioning property business where we do a multitude of things, not just kind of property training and property sourcing, but we also have our own property portfolio. So I own 12 properties of my own. We also do a number of joint venture projects with clients, and we do also regular deals that we source for clients and sell as well. So this is all run on a business schedule of around 2 days a week. Now, as I said, I'm nothing kind of special. Certainly when I started out, I didn't have a lot. As I said, we had a lot of debt to get started with. I had no background or experience in property. And also is around the time of kind of 2006, 2007, when I was working at the estate agency, that it was at the peak of the boom and just about to head into the bust. So a lot of things were against me and obviously the industry at the time. So it probably wasn't a great time looking back to getting started in property, but that's the beauty of property. It can work for many people from many backgrounds, whether you're starting with £1,000 in the bank and a little bit of debt, or whether you're starting with £100,000 in the bank and no debt, to everywhere kind of in between. And my aim today is when we're looking at these different strategies and we're looking at the different techniques on how to find property deals in your area, is to show you how you can get started in property, whatever your starting point is, teach you how to find these deals, what strategy they might work for, so you can kind of achieve those aims and goals. And as I said, at the end as well, we'll look at how we can do some free property mentorship for you on a one-on-one basis as well. So next up, we're going to look at the property strategies that will allow you to achieve that retirement income, so you can quit that kind of 9-to-5 job and look at income and assets outside of your maybe current kind of career or industry. And these are going to be vanilla buy-to-lets and also buy, refurbish, refinance, or flips. It's a very similar kind of strategy, and we'll look at the elements that kind of combine to make up this particular plan. And the reason why we've combined them is because this First one is going to be looking at more of a long-term steady pension plan that's going to give you cash flow for many years. And the second is going to provide you with quicker growth. Also the potential to replace your salary, as we've said, within that 12-month kind of time frame, because you'll earn large sums of money when you do the flips, or you'll be able to pull out money when you refinance a property. So that's what we're looking at really, is a pension plan strategy and a job replacement strategy. Now there's going to be some key assets that are going to help you with these strategies. So money to invest from the outset, to maybe purchase the property straight away, or to have some initial deposits is going to be good, but it's not necessary. A clean credit rating as well, a good regular income to allow you to achieve that kind of buy-to-let mortgage, or mortgage if it's maybe for, as we said, a flip or a HMO. You're going to need particular type of mortgages for that. A good clean credit rating, a good regular income is going to help you with that. Again, it's not a necessity, so if you're not in that situation, don't worry. There's plenty of other strategies that we can show you, and I'll give you a bit of an insight in terms of how you can look at those later on in this training. And then thirdly, property contacts. So if you have already contacts with maybe a property sourcer, maintenance team, letting agents, solicitor, mortgage broker, whatever it might be, that will help you get up and running a little bit quicker. As we said, none of these are necessities. There are options if you don't have them. It's just they will give you a bit of a head start if you are in a position where you have 1 or 2 or 3 of these kind of elements that we're looking at. Now in a second we're going to be looking at some live examples of both of these strategies, and I'll show you some deals that we've done and some deals that some of our clients have done recently. But first I just want to give you a bit of an insight and introduction in terms of how each of these particular deals work. So the first one is going to be vanilla buy-to-lets. As we said, this is the pension plan property strategy. And this is typically the strategy that you would look at if you were to maybe speak to more of the mainstream type property investors. Certainly pick up any kind of property book from Amazon or a bookstore, or if you were to speak to an estate agent or letting agent, this is the kind of the strategy that they would know, they recommend and possibly talk about. And this strategy doesn't certainly require any creative thinking to get started. Once you've learned how to find, negotiate and manage the properties successfully, it's very easy to systemize that process. And we have a number of buy-to-lets in our portfolio and would continue to do so over the years as well. Now on this strategy, where the money is going to be kind of twofold really. The first is going to be on the rental income. And there's a couple of different definitions that people look at for kind of rental income, but to keep it kind of simple across the board, this is the definition that we use, which is the yearly rental income divided by the total cost of the investment, so the purchase price and the refurbishment costs, times by 100. So here's an example for you. So 6,000 rental income divided by, let's say, 70,000 purchase, 5,000 refurbishment, times by 100 is going to give you an 8% rental yield. Now depending on where you are in the country, these figures are going to certainly look different. If you're based in London or Dorset, they're going to look different than if you're based in Manchester or Sheffield. But the calculation is going to be the same, and the target rental yields that we would look for and suggest that you'd look for, again, will be the same on that basis. Next up, we're going to be looking at a second income stream, which would be from equity or potential equity in a deal. Actually, just to go back on this section here, this 8% rental yield, this is the target yield that we typically aim for any of our buy-to-lets, and the majority of our clients tend to aim for. As we said, if you're based in London, it's going to be very hard to achieve those kind of gross rental figures, but many other areas in the UK you can still achieve those, and that just allows you to have enough income to cover your costs, maybe a mortgage, maintenance, tenant fine fees, all of those elements that come into owning and running a buy-to-let, and allow you to make a profit as well. Okay, so next up we're going to be looking at equity, and this can be described as the difference between the value of the property minus how much or any finance you might have on it. And equity is typically going to be created in 3 ways. So for an example, if you had a £100,000 property with a £60,000 mortgage, you've got £40,000 worth of equity in it based on this kind of criteria here. But the 3 ways that you can actually create or add value and build equity into a deal is going to be, the first one is buying at a discount. Second is adding value refurbishments, and the third is going to be as you get property growth naturally within the area. Now to get the very best income and return on your investment with buy-to-lets, ideally you want a combination of both, so you want to get some rental income and some equity in the deal. Now from experience, it's best to focus on properties that give you, as we said, that 8% kind of target gross rental yield, but also a minimum rental income amount, so you don't want to be going too low on the property price and get a great yield, but then the income's not coming in, it's going to be too high, or not high enough, sorry. So we'd usually look for an income of around £200 per month cash flow after all costs on a typical buy-to-let deal. And there might be other reasons to buy that deal where it doesn't achieve those figures, but that's a general rule of thumb. Now for the equity, in an ideal world you want to be negotiating some discount on the initial purchase price. Now it depends on the market. We're currently viewing properties in a very buoyant market with a very particular type of strategy in mind, and we have to pay full market value or even sometimes over the market value currently to make that deal work. But then we can add value to it in a number of other ways. But as a very general guide or rule of thumb again, on an average market, in a market that's stable and in any area of the UK, you want to be buying at a discount, and the target discounts that we typically look for is around 15% or above. So if we can get it, 15 to 25% discount is a sweet spot. The next one is going to be adding value with refurbishments, and this can be small scale refurbishments. You don't have to be doing kind of major structural works or any kind of real problem properties, if it were. You can just do very nice internal decorations and some external to make the property or add value to that property. And the third way of creating equity is going to be with capital growth, as we said. So this is going to be really out of your hands at this stage. It does depend on the market, but if you do your due diligence right, if you pick the correct areas and you understand the type of properties to buy in those areas, you can certainly make sure that your investment has the best potential chance to get suitable capital growth over a period of time, as opposed to just buying in any area because the yields might look good. You want to do some due diligence on if that area is going to be right. Okay, so next up is going to be the job replacement strategy, and this is where we look at buy, refurbish and refinance and flips, because they're very similar in terms of the method and they're very similar in terms of the income or the ability that that strategy could give you and deliver. Now the principle here essentially is if you're doing a kind of a buy, refurbish, refinance, is it allows you to recycle your initial deposit so that you can go on and buy multiple properties, and this allows you to use leverage to its full capacity and ability. Now you can also even use this alongside other property strategies, and you would purchase the property in much the same way as a traditional purchase, and also as the same as the vanilla buy-to-let strategy, as we said, to give you a combined approach to your investment. So you could maybe do some buy, refurbish, refinance, and you could do some flips, or you could bring in some buy-to-lets into the mix as well, where you purchase them as ready-to-go deals. It essentially depends upon the structure and the setup that you're looking for, and also what works best for yourself at that point in time. Now the reason why this job replacement strategy works over and above, let's say, a straightforward buy-to-let strategy is because with this, it relies on you forcing the appreciation of the property through a refurbishment to add that extra value. And it's with this added value that you can then look to remortgage the property. What you would do is you'd look at remortgaging based upon the new valuation, so you're able to pull out your original deposit and refurbishment costs, and this then allows you to move on to the next property, rolling and recycling your initial deposit pot. And this is great if you want to grow a property portfolio and reuse that one deposit pot or initial deposit pot. Done right, it gives you the chance to potentially buy multiple properties over a period of time with that one deposit pot. However, the key to this is adding significant or decent value so that it can show to a mortgage lender or a surveyor that you have genuinely added value to the property and it is now currently worth the increased valuation. Secondly to that, if you wanted to just simply cash out and give you a lump sum payment that may be able to replace that kind of income that you would have got that year from a kind of a career or a job if it were, then you can simply sell the property on after the refurbishment instead of refinancing. And you can earn the average yearly salary for many people just by doing kind of one deal when you sell that property after the refurbishment. And we'll show you some examples of some of these strategies in today's training as well. Now, whichever route you choose, either way, the key to this strategy, as we said, is going to be able to kind of show that you've added value. So whether it's a mortgage company, a surveyor, or a first-time buyer, if you're flipping the property, you want to show them that you've genuinely added value to that property and it's worth, as we said, the new price. Now, data is very accessible, so all surveyors are going to know what you purchased it for originally. So if you maybe brought it in January for 80,000, and now you want to remortgage it in August for 125,000, there needs to be a very good reason. Hopefully you can see why that you've kind of increased the value of that property to the new figure. Now the way in which we do this and recommend to do it as well is to create a schedule of work so you can show the surveyor what you've done. Also before and after pictures and before and after comparisons in terms of valuation. So you can give all the data and information to the surveyor, or if you're selling it, to the incoming buyer. And this allows them to kind of see really the full information as to that new valuation and to know it's worth that increased cost. Now where the money is on these types of deals, as with any standard buy-to-lets, if you're looking at keeping the deal and you're looking at refinancing it, you're going to still make an income based on the rental income from that property. But you can also increase the level of return on investment to an almost infinite return by using leverage. And the reason why this works is because you're using essentially one investment pot to buy the first property, add value to it, remortgage, pull out all your initial funds, and then use it to go on to buy your next property. With this particular strategy though, you need to be aware that the risk reward element is also amplified because you're going to have more properties, more mortgages, but with greater reward is also potentially delivered on that because you have increased rental income and the potential for increased growth on those as well. So it's a balancing act. It depends upon your individual kind of preferences and risk profile when it comes to property. Or as we said, if you're looking simply at the flip strategy, you're not going to make money on the rental income, but you'll make more money when it comes to actually selling that property at that point in time. So you'll be able to pull out more income from that sale. And that's because very often you can get a better valuation when you're selling it to a homeowner or first-time buyer than you might get if you were looking to just simply refinance it if the lender is a bit more risk averse based on the works that you've done. So when we look at flipping properties, we're typically targeting a 20% net return on those sort of deals. So we're looking at, on most properties for our area, around 20 to 30,000. However, if you live in a more affluent or more expensive area, property prices and the figures are going to be different. If you still target this, and obviously this percentage, you're still going to be achieving much significant returns than this, depending upon that value and property price in your local town. Okay, next up we're going to look at some real life examples. So these are deals that we've done ourselves recently and some of our clients have done recently using the exact techniques and methods that I'm going to show you in this training after these examples on how you can go and find these particular property deals on your doorstep. And when I say clients, we run a VIP training course with Property Investments UK that clients join, and within there we have a number of topics and training modules that show people how to get started in property, different strategies, techniques and methods like we're going to be showing you today and discussing today on how to find property deals in your area, and a lot more as well. But I can show you some of that near the end of the training if you wish to. Right now we're just going to be looking at some of the real life examples on how you can mirror and do these similar deals in your local area. So this is the first one. This is a property that we did in an area of Warrington with a joint venture partner, and it was really a job replacement type strategy. Now when we first looked at this particular deal, we weren't sure if we were going to do it to a first time buyer standard and sell it straight on to the open market, or if we were going to maybe refurb it, tenant it, and then sell it to an investor buyer. Now to give ourselves I suppose the potential for both options, because the market was relatively buoyant when it comes to sales, we thought we could get a higher price for a first time buyer. So we thought, okay, we'll do a full refurbishment to that sort of level of standard. And it took us 4 months from the original purchase of the property to refurb it and then to resale. And that's resale, not just offer accepted, but offer being completed. This is the internal of the property after the work's done. It looks a lot different than what it was initially, but hopefully it gives you an idea of what the property kind of started to look like, or was at the end of the property project. So we purchased this particular property for 67,000. We sold it 4 months later for 92,000. However, the actual market value for this particular property was about 100,000. So I mentioned just a second ago, we looked at first-time buyer and selling it to an investor. We got an estate agent actually around to value this just before we sold it, and they valued it 105 or 100 to 105,000. And because of the market, I was confident we could have achieved that. However, what we looked at instead was selling this to an investor for a lower price for a quicker sale. So we could have chose to keep the property on the market for a little bit longer, and maybe instead of 4 months sell it within 6 months. But we had other deals that we were considering at the time, and I'll show you some of these other deals in a second after this example, that made sense to sell this property slightly cheaper, pull the money out quicker and reinvest it in the next deal. But as you can see, it's a very quick time frame. Even then it was 4 months compared to maybe 6 months, but 4 months is how long the deal took. We made a total profit on this one of 8,787. If we'd gone the other route and sold it, let's say the 100,000 kind of price point, and sold it to a first-time buyer, our potential profit would have been a lot higher. Now, both of these profits are good, but 8,000 you're not going to really be retiring on anytime soon. 16,000 is a very good income as a replacement strategy. For most areas, you'd want to be doubling up on that to give you that kind of income that, let's say, the most 9 to 5 or career prospect people are on if they're looking at 25, 30 or higher as an income. But the reason why I wanted to show you this example, partly is because of the time frames. So we did this in 4 months, so we could potentially have done, let's say, rough figures, 3 a year. You could have easily sold this within 6 months to a first-time buyer, so we could have done potentially 2 a year. So it shows you it is achievable if you're doing these flip kind of figures, but also that things do kind of change, and it won't necessarily always pan out how you start off in terms of a figures point of view. So I said, took not a hit, but we sold it for 92,000 instead of the higher figure, simply to get the property deal done quicker to allow us to recycle that money into another deal. Now I'll go into this other deal in a second, but why that's important is because I want to show you that we are showing you real life examples. I'm not kind of playing around with the figures here. These are property deals that we've done and some of our clients have done, but you can see the realistic figures associated with them instead of saying, oh, you can make 20,000 every single property that you do if it were, and you can do 100 a year. I want to be realistic on those kind of figures for you and show you exactly what is achievable. So the next one is a deal in Wigan that actually one of our clients did. So we have, as I said, a VIP training course, and Chris is on the training course, and this is a particular property deal that he did, which was with a pension plan strategy in mind. Now this was a HMO rental. Now HMO stands for House of Multiple Occupation, and essentially the difference between a straightforward buy-to-let and a HMO is a buy-to-let you would rent out as a full property, maybe to a couple or an individual or a family, whereas a HMO you would rent out individual rooms. So you might have 4 or 5 tenants sharing a particular building, have their own bedroom, but share communal facilities. And generally the income on these types of deals is slightly higher from a rental return basis. Now the timings for Chris on this deal, he completed the purchase, the refurbishment, and got it fully tenanted only in about a 1.5 month kind of time frame. Now these are some example properties. I'm not sure if you can see it or if it's a bit too small on your screen, but as an idea, these are sold prices in the area. So we've got here 3 bedrooms, 75,000, 58, 82, 72.5, 115, and 82.5. This is sold prices within the last year, within a 1/4 mile radius. So quite varied, but you can see they're around the 75, 58, 82, 70, kind of 80 upwards mark. Now these are the figures that Chris purchased this property at. So he purchased it for 75,000. So it's not massively discounted when we're looking at some of the figures here. Like these are a bit higher, 115, 82.5, 82. So there's maybe some value in it, but it's not certainly 20-30% discount, but it doesn't need to be, and I'll show you why now. And the cost of the refurbishment and the purchase price goes up to about just under 90,000. Now this particular property, Chris would or has rented it out as a HMO to a social housing client. Now this is where a social housing provider has leased the property from him for a period of 5 years, and he earns a net income, so there's no further deductions for him, unlike many HMOs where you might have to pay costs like utilities, gas, electric, council tax, maintenance, management fees with a letting agent, all those costs on these particular lease that Chris negotiated and sorted on this deal. It's all net, so he doesn't have any further deductions. Alternatively, with this property and location, he could have rented it out as a HMO at a professional kind of tenant level for this rent on a gross basis. But when you broke down the figures, his net return is better to do it with a social housing process. That's why he's gone that road. Now, as you can see, the investment's just under 90,000 and his income is 10,400 per annum. So the rental income alone makes this a fantastic kind of pension plan strategy. Now, we'll also get growth over a period of time, but it gives him a fantastic income to sit back and have that kind of pension plan ticking over in the background. So you only need a couple of these for things to start looking very good from an income point of view. Next up, or as a final kind of deal example, we're looking at one that we did in Wigan. So again, this is a recent deal. This is one of the deals actually we pulled out the money early on the Warrington property to do. So it allowed us to do this particular type of strategy and deal as well. Now this is a job replacement strategy. So the plan here was always to sell the property, and it took us 2 months from the purchase date to resell the property, and that's again not offer accepted. That's completing on the property. So everything fully done and dusted. To show you an idea on the figures. These are the cheapest 3 beds in this location. So you can see 75,000, 75, 78. Now these particular properties do need some work, so they're not ready to go rentals. They're a bit tired and dated internally, but it just gives you some examples on comparisons. So you can see here the postcode, 1/4 mile radius. The property that we purchased was on the market for 85,000. We offered and purchased it for 85,000, which might seem bonkers for a lot of people, saying, well, why did you pay the full value? Why didn't you get a discount and stuff? And as I said, it's not always necessarily about the discount. We look at 7 key criteria when we're looking at a deal, and we class them as our 7 golden rules. And I give you that bonus download at the end of this training, so you can see kind of the things that we look for and use those on your own deals as well. Now, we look at these because this particular property, as an example, we didn't need to buy it at a discount. And we couldn't negotiate any further. That was the vendor's kind of bottom line on this property, but it still worked for us. And this deal was also in very good condition. It was ready to go. It didn't really need much of a refurb doing on it. Now, the reason why this property worked is because it could be rented as a HMO. It was also suitable to put on the 5-year lease. So similar to the deal Chris did, where you've got no management, no maintenance. The income that we generate on this deal is $10,400 per annum. So it's a net return. So it makes the property very appealing while we hold it, and also makes it an easier property to sell later on down the line to an investor, because there's a lot of benefits to this deal over and above any other property they might generate in the local area that only rents out maybe for $450 or $500 or $550 per month. And that's all because of the strength of the property, the location, the fact that it's a HMO and on this lease setup. So hopefully, as an idea, you can see some of the example deals that we're doing and some of our clients are doing now. An example that you don't have to buy it at a discount to make the property work. It's just understanding the different strategies, and we just look at 2 today. There's lots of other strategies that we cover in the training course for you later on down the line if you wanted to kind of look at that. But it's just to give you hopefully an example and an insight in terms of what can be done with these real life property deals. Okay, next, now we've looked at I suppose some examples and give you a bit of an idea on some of the strategies. Before we go into how to exactly find the deals, which we will do in the training in a second, what I want to just cover over really is why property might be suitable or interesting for people as potentially an investment, and what to kind of consider when it comes to looking at deals, because this, combined with everything else, kind of makes up really what strategy might work, and then also sets the scene really for the type of deals that we're going to be looking at in a minute. Now, if you're new to property, there's things to consider when it comes to why property might work, not only now, but also 2016 and beyond. And for some people, they look at it because it's going to make them a good investment. So they like to think of things like, as we said, financial freedom, the lifestyle, the pension plan. That's exactly why I got started in property. And it's a fantastic model for that, because it's not a new kind of fad or latest business idea or some other kind of fly-by-night strategy or MLM scheme, if you've kind of looked into anything like that. From a comfort point of view, you can see the asset, you can feel it, you can visit it, you can drive past it at 2 a.m. in the morning or 3 p.m. in the afternoon if you wanted to, just simply to check and make sure it's still there. So that's very appealing. It's also a very solid asset that generations of wealthy families have invested in as the cornerstone of their wealth. You don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel with any new idea or fancy strategy. You can learn from people who have been there and done it simply by looking at the Sunday Times Rich List, which every April shows, I think it's the top 1,000 people, wealthiest people in the UK. And it's a very interesting read because it shows you an insight in terms of how a very healthy number of people on the list have made their money in property. So they come from a property industry or property background. But second to that, almost all of them on the list have a large proportion of their wealth in property. So even if they've made it in another industry, they've typically translated it into property and purchased and owned property as an investment over the long term because of the benefits that we've looked at previously in this training: the cash flow, the income, the asset, the stability, and also the equity that comes with it, which is all great combinations. Now, another reason why property is so popular is because it is much more than just bricks and mortar. It's people's homes. It's not just kind of an asset and an income stream. And as a property owner, whether you're an investor or a landlord, and you're looking to maybe keep or sell those properties, you know that you're providing a service. So if you're owning it as a landlord and keeping it, you can provide a safe and secure home for families to live in. If you're selling that property on, you know there's always going to be a demand because shelter is a basic human need. So you have that fantastic combination when it comes to supply and demand, that there's always going to be somebody interested in your product, if it were, or your asset when you're coming to kind of sell it or rent it out. So it's very comforting to know there's a demand for that service, and that fundamentally there will always be a demand because the population is growing, and as we kind of hear regularly, they're not making any more land, but the need for accommodation and high quality accommodation as well is always increasing. So that's great. We know it can be a kind of a good investment if it were, but the cash flow side of things, is very important as well. And for any business or investment, it's massively important. But property has one large advantage when it comes to this compared to other assets, and that is the purely ability to leverage, which is using mortgages or financing to allow you to purchase that property. Now, I'm not saying that you should definitely leverage or use financing, because this is a very personal choice. Although many smart investors I know choose leverage when they're coming to buy property, and that might be with other people's money, things like joint ventures, or it might be mortgages. And that because it allows them to buy more property, it allows them to increase the potential income and equity that they have in those kind of portfolio, if it were, because they can do many more deals. However, there are still a large percentage of people and investors as well that choose to have property unencumbered. So that means they have no mortgage on it, and this is their choice. As I said, it's very personal when it comes to these kind of aspects. But when you look and think about leverage and look at it in detail, you have two very distinct advantages. Now, the first is the ability to buy more value for your money. So, for instance, if you go and buy a property that's worth £100,000, and if you leverage, you don't actually need £100,000 of your own money. You can leverage and get a mortgage to finance most of the purchase price. And this could mean that you only need a deposit really of, say, 20 or 25%. So in this instance, on that particular property example, you'd only need a deposit of 20 to 25,000. You can then buy that £100,000 asset with only 25,000 of your own money. And this is what the power of leverage gives you. And it has a profound effect on increasing that return on investment. Now, if you think about it, if a 10% return on property prices on that type of deal would be a paper profit of £10,000 on the above example. However, if you'd invested the full 100,000 into that deal, and it gives you a 10% return on investment, then that's okay. It's not bad at all, certainly. But if you'd use leverage and you look at the same deal, but you'd only invested 25,000 of your own money, your return on investment instead would have been 40%. So hopefully you can start to see how that kind of power of leverage starts to come into effect. What's more, leverage also is even more kind of impactful when you consider it how it ties in directly with inflation. Now, inflation over time reduces the value of real money. As prices get more expensive, you can buy less and less for your kind of £1 coin in your pocket, if it were. And when inflation rises year on year, your actual leverage or your mortgage would still be staying the same if you're on an interest-only mortgage, or even coming down if you're on a repayment mortgage. And this is because your level of debt isn't increasing. So if inflation's going up, but you have a mortgage on the property, your debt stays the same. So this means that your balance of your real term mortgage is actually getting eroded year on year, even without any change in property prices. So one of the main reasons why people say invest in property is because property prices always increase, and you get the usual rhetoric of how they double every 7 to 10 years, things like that. And that's great, and if they continue to do that, fantastic. But in times of recession, or when prices are stable and there's no growth, this statement doesn't really mean anything. It's going to be that good old kind of solid cash flow in your pocket that matters. And that's why inflation and leverage are so powerful together, because with leverage, even when house prices aren't increasing, inflation is working its magic and reducing the real term value of your initial debt, because what you can buy, as I said, with that £1 in your pocket gets less and less every year, but your real term mortgage is staying the same. The beauty to this is, on the other side of the coin as well, is the cash flow part of your property investment is generated from rental income. And inflation works on this side of the fence for you too, because year on year, as inflation grows, so do people's wages. To an extent, they might not always keep in line with inflation, but they do go up. And over time, so does the rental value of the property. So what was once a property that you could rent out for, I don't know, let's say £500 per month, over time goes to 525, then 550, 600, 700, 800, and it starts to grow. But again, if you're on a repayment or an interest-only mortgage, either way, your mortgage value would still be staying the same, but your rental income starts to increase. And this is happening regardless of what's going on with kind of property prices. So hopefully you can start to see how the kind of the benefits really of inflation start to kick in when you do look at leverage as well. Finally, property is great because not only is the cash flow good, the benefits kind of good that we've kind of discussed before, but also it gives you the potential for a fantastic lifestyle. As I said, my current business is run on 2 days a week, and that gives me the freedom. If I want to do more work or look at other things, I can, but ultimately I have that kind of choice and freedom. That's what property gives you. And it has many advantages over other traditional businesses too, in as much as it is a lot easier as an industry to run hands-free. Now, I know a lot of people that tend to run their own businesses, but all of these businesses have one thing in common. They're all very staff intensive. And if you own your own business, or if you're a manager or director or supervisor, you understand how much of a headache having staff can be. It's one of the most stressful parts of any job, or being a business owner. And managing employees and having them rely on you for the next paycheck is very stressful. No matter how you set up your business, it can be very hard to put it on autopilot when you have employees operating, because you need to oversee them or have somebody to oversee them. And unless you're a very high kind of level business, so you have it completely automated and you don't need to be involved in it, it's very difficult to run hands-free, whereas property is different to this. And the reason for that is because ultimately the industry and the business is set up to allow you to easily streamline and systemize it over and above any other industry, because instead of hiring staff, you can very easily hire and outsource work to contractors instead. So whether you need a solicitor or a mortgage broker, a letting agent or a maintenance contractor, or property source or anybody in between, you can bring people on board to do one task within that business. You don't have to hire them and have the ongoing kind of requirement or need for that staff. Also, if any part of their chain isn't pulling their weight, that's no problem. You simply stop working with them and choose to work with somebody else instead. Now, if you pick the right team, hopefully you shouldn't have to kind of do that, but it allows you to be very flexible. It allows you to, if you pick the right team of contractors from the start, you don't have to go chopping and changing. But it allows you to have that team and network to run that business for you, so you can take a step back. You do have the flexibility and choice for it to be a lifestyle business if you want. So it's not only the income, it's not only the asset and security that we've looked at, all those elements, it's also the flexibility and how that works. Now, one thing we get asked regularly with clients is in terms of when should they buy. So if maybe the market is buoyant, or if it's stagnant, or if it's dipping, we still get these questions. It's just, is now the right time? Is it overpriced? Is it underpriced? A whole host of things. Now, property fundamentally is like any product, service or asset. It all boils down to kind of supply and demand. Now, the good news is that you don't have to kind of guess or try and predict the market. And one of the concerns that people have with property is that it's kind of historically goes on a cyclical pattern. So you have dips, peaks and troughs, highs and lows when property prices will kind of go. And that's typically because of the psychological nature of humans. They look at putting great emphasis on what the crowd and the herd mentality tends to do. And you don't see any different with property. It's exactly the same. Historically, it follows a cyclical pattern. Now, there are things like government stimulus, tax changes that we've had, for example, this year and have had in previous years as well. Also access to finance. Any outside involvement like this will always play a factor in property prices. But in reality, all it tends to do is affect the severity of the boom and bust. And also for how kind of how long it might go on for, but it doesn't stop it from happening if you were to look at historically prices over a period of time. Now, this is because you will look at, let's say, the supply and demand element of property ownership, and whether that's with a house price index from Halifax, Nationwide, Land Registry, you can see the trend of kind of property prices increasing and decreasing, and that cyclical pattern, and that's going to be continuing because of the supply and demand element. And this psychological nature of kind of humans wanting to follow the crowd. So if prices are increasing, they'll start to buy. If they're decreasing, they'll start to sell. And if you take a step back and try and visualize what this might look like, you can see it starts to become almost like a property clock, where prices and yields rise and fall as time kind of passes, and then it comes full circle. So very often people are interested in wondering, when is the best time to buy? Is it now, or what part of the cycle should they consider to kind of invest in? Also, where they're going to make the money out of property. If you're starting from nothing, is it best to wait or kind of do a different strategy now? And these are very hard questions to answer, because it does depend upon when's the right time for you to buy. But ultimately, if you had a crystal ball and you started to look at kind of this property clock, then you might think, okay, well, surely it's the best time to buy when prices have dropped. Maybe they've stabilized a little bit and even starting to rise. But it's impossible to try and predict this. Even the brightest investing minds struggle with this kind of part of the cycle. And this is the good news to property, really, is you don't have to try and guess, because property isn't like stocks and shares. There's a high cost and time frame to buying and selling property that you need to consider. It's not an instant transaction. So if you try and pinpoint the exact part of this cycle to maximize your purchase price, it can be very frustrating and you can waste a lot of time. I know people have kind of been bidding on properties for the last 12 months and they've still not kind of found the perfect property, if it were, and that's because ultimately they're trying to guess the market. They're trying to buy at the top or the bottom, of the price and try and kind of capitalize on growth. But it significantly limits your growth if you try and follow this approach, because you can go through a similar situation where you have a 12-month time frame, you've not purchased anything. So instead, it's much better to simply understand the market, understand what part of the cycle you're in, and then buy those properties based upon their intrinsic value. So you're buying for other things other than just at the right time of the cycle, and other things other than just capital growth or equity. And if we were to relate this to other businesses, one of the richest men in the world, Warren Buffett, he's got a very famous saying that it's far better to buy a wonderful company at a fair price than a fair company at a wonderful price. And essentially, with that in mind, it's not about the discount. It's not about buying kind of the best value, if it were. It's about trying to purchase a fantastic asset, something that's got great fundamentals to it, something that gives a great kind of income and cash flow. So focusing on the fundamentals, and you shouldn't go far wrong when it comes to kind of buying and finding that property. Okay, so now we know property is great for cash flow. We've looked at pension plan strategies, retirement incomes, how it can give you a fantastic lifestyle. But now obviously we need to find the actual deals that are going to help you achieve that, and this is what we're going to share with you now. So if you remember the 3 deals that we showed you earlier, the case studies, these were all properties that you can find on the market with estate agents for free, no marketing costs, and they're all found using the exact 4 techniques plus additional techniques that we cover in our property training mentorship program that I'm going to share with you an insight on how to do this now, so you can use these in your own local area. And these are properties that, as I said, not just myself have found, but also clients that have gone on our training have found. And it's these types of deals that will allow you to replace that kind of job, if it were, or a career, and have a pension plan, an asset, and an income that's coming from kind of elsewhere. Now also, as I said early on in this training, you don't have to have 10 years property experience to do this. You don't even have to have spoken to an estate agent before to do this. These are examples I'll show you how to find deals in your area. You can do it in the comfort of your own home, on a Sunday evening, Tuesday afternoon, Saturday morning, whenever you want, in your pajamas. You don't have to go down the agents and start negotiating, haggling, anything like that. It's simply a case of understanding how to find and shortlist the very best deals, and then narrowing down the ones that are going to be specific to you. And now at the end, as I said, after this particular kind of element of the training, I'll give you access to the free downloads as well. And you combine these with these techniques to hopefully give you the best possible discounts when it comes to finding those deals on your doorstep. So we'll go straight into it and look at the deals. Now, just as a kind of an insight, I guess, in terms of the things we're going to be looking at, we're going to be using the the Zoopla property portal, and we're going to be looking at 4 tactics. The first one is properties that have been on the market a long time. The second is properties with very little interest or that have been overlooked by competitors. The third is properties that have had the most price reduction. And then the fourth, we're going to be looking for some price discrepancies, some hidden gems, some ones that, again, other people have kind of tended to have missed. So if we're going to jump off this screen and just go to the Zoopla screen, just bear with me a second. Okay, so hopefully you can see my screen now on Zoopla. And our first things first, you can see up top here, I'm logged in. But what you want to be doing, if you haven't already got an account with Zoopla, you want to create an account. It's free to do. Don't necessarily do that now as we're doing the training, but you can do it after the training, and you can start to obviously add some of the deals to it as you start to go through it. It just helps you save listings as we're going through them, essentially. So what we're going to be looking at, so Zoopla is this address here, zoopla.co.uk. What we're going to be looking at is an area in the UK, so this works anywhere in England, Wales, Scotland, Northern Ireland, I'm sure it works as well. It's just they're not areas typically that we cover or have clients in at the moment. So the areas that we focus on our clients tend to buy in is usually in England and Wales, but the principles here should be kind of applicable everywhere. We're going to be looking at Leeds because it's an area that has quite a good number of properties. It's not too large, not too small, so hopefully it gives us enough examples to show you on the training that we're doing here. We're going to be looking at setting some filters, so we'll go for a minimum price of about 40,000. Anything below that tends to become hard to raise finance on, so you want to keep it what's suitable across the board. Up to about 150. Property prices, let's look at houses. Minimum beds, let's do 2 beds for now. Click on search and then we can improve the filters if we need to in a second. So it's brought up 598 houses. So I might limit that a little bit. Let's go down here. Let's do terraced houses. Semi-detached. Scroll down a bit further. Let's keep pre-owned only. New build's very difficult generally to do deals on, so we'll keep it to pre-owned only. Ownership type, so we only want sole ownership. You can get shared houses in some property locations, but it's not really what we're going to be looking at here for the mainstream. Non-retirement again, so it's not filtering the details down too much, but it's just making it a bit tidier. Buyers incentives, don't need anything there. Okay. That's fine. What I'm going to do is move this up to 3 beds. See what that gives us. There we go. So it's reduced it down to 215. So it's a more manageable number for many people. Now, if you're looking at particular postcodes, you might want to have some of these filters a bit wider. So maybe different price ranges, more or less beds. Play around with the filters however you wish, really. But this just gives us the data that we need to start off with. And that's it, ready to kind of start. I'm just going to move this to 100, so it gives us a chance to look at as many properties on the listings as we can. Now, as we scroll down, now what you'll notice here is on these dates, is some of the listings that we're doing, the dates are going to change. Now, we're recording this in February 2016. This detail is relevant, as I said, in any area. It'll be relevant now, or in a year's time, or in 2 years' time, as long as they don't change kind of the filter settings, because the information is applicable across the board. But just in case, if you're looking at this in maybe 6 months' time or 12 months' time, don't worry, the data is, as I said, fully applicable. The first thing we're going to be looking at is properties that have been on the market a long time. So if we click here, we've got a couple of different filter sets. So most recent is the one we're starting off with. Now this lists properties that have recently come to the market. So essentially what we want to do is a reverse search. We want to go all the way down to the bottom of this page, scroll all the way down, click on the final page. Now this will show us properties that have been on the market the longest. So it's a reverse search from the most recent listings essentially. Now one thing to note here is the listings, it will give you, as you can see here, the date. So this was March 2010, so 6 years or so ago. Now I would debate whether this has been on the market for 6 years. The likelihood is there is some discrepancy, and we always find this with the listings. There are going to be some outliers that aren't relevant, where maybe the listing has just never been updated, or has never been taken down for some reason, or it's with an old agency that closed down a branch and that branch's listings are still kind of live. There's a whole host of reasons why these properties might be listed. So I would tend to take some of the information with a pinch of salt on the very older dates, but generally the majority of them, if we look at the 80-20 kind of rule, 80% of them are going to be correct. Now when we're looking at the listings, what I would use here is kind of go backwards and come back up the list based on the criteria that we're looking at. So if you're looking at a straightforward, ready to go rental, nice condition, then use that to factor in whether these properties are worth adding to the list. So click, have a look at the pictures here. Looks very good, easy to go, brilliant. So we can add that to the list if that's your strategy. If you were looking at let's say a job replacement strategy of refurbishing, refinancing, pulling some money out, or even flips, it's probably not going to be the right deal for you because you can't add enough value with this particular property. Now there's other techniques that we'll show you in the VIP training course, how to find properties that are in need of rework and a number of other tactics, but as a general rule of thumb, this gives you a good kind of insight in terms of how to start adding the listings. So if this is the right postcode, if this is the right type, style, price range, all we do is simply add it to our listing. And then it's as simple as that. Scroll up the list and pick out the ones that are best suited for you. So you can tidy up this filter based on postcode, so you're not having to wade through areas that maybe don't work for you. Price ranges, beds, all of that kind of thing. And I would simply scroll up and add the ones that work. So I'm just going to save a couple here so it gives us some examples to show later on. Now when it comes up to kind of time frames, what I would usually look at, so this was on the market now just over a year ago, I'd usually look at to around 6 months. So if you're in a very active market, anything that's been on the market for over 6 months starts to look a bit strange. There's a reason maybe why it's been on the market that long, but it's worth having a look at. Could mean there's things other investors have maybe missed, wrong description, wrong photos, badly marketed. It just gives you a chance to maybe look at that as a potential deal. So I'd go backwards up to around properties that have been on the market for over 6 months for this particular or first technique. Second technique, we're going to be looking at properties that have very little interest or have been overlooked by competitors. So again, keep the filters exactly the same. Next we're going to be looking at this section here, which is most popular. So at the top of this listing we're going to have properties that have been viewed or clicked on or looked at the most by investors. So as we go to the top here, so what's this one? You can see nearly 2,000 views in the last 30 days. That's a lot. It's very popular. Maybe because of the price range, maybe because of the location. Going to auction, so it's probably quite a low guide price. That's a very high kind of competition marker, let's say. There's a lot of people interested in this property. So what we want to do is look at ones that maybe, just maybe, other investors have overlooked. And that, again, might be because of poorly marketed. Might be because price range is wrong, but the vendor's just a bit stubborn on the price and hasn't really considered other offers. They're not getting the interest, so they're not wanting to drop. So it's kind of catch-22 almost. But if you can try and spot these outliers, then you can start to build a bit of a shortlist on property deals that might work. Here, we've only got 113 views, so it's only a tenth. Or a lot less than that, sorry, it's a fifth of what the original kind of listings were shown at the top of the list. So these are perfect. If we scroll further down and look at these here, so no views in the last 30 days, so something's certainly going on with that. That's actually just added, scrap that. If we look at, coming up a bit further, 73 views in the last 30 days, so again, maybe there's an issue there with this particular property. If the price range fits, if the location, description, perfect, let's add it. And you can see when it came on the market, so if it's, as we saw below here, just add it. If it's only just been added, then you can understand why there's maybe no views. If it's been added a while ago, so this is last year, then you can start to see, okay, well maybe 73 views in the last 30 days when it's been on for a while is pretty poor, so maybe it's worth having a bit of a look at further and seeing if we can kind of dig out the motivation behind that deal. So that's the second option. Next tactic, we're going to be looking at the most reduced prices. So if we go to this filter here, most reduced, let's wait for it to work. Okay, perfect. At the top of this listings, we've got all the information we need to kind of make a decision. So you've got two bits of kind of pertinent information. First is the kind of overall price reduction. So 28% is a decent hit on that price. Last reduced is the date that it was reduced. Now if we scroll down, we can see some of these reductions are recent, some of them are maybe slightly older. So you want to be taking two factors into account. We typically look at, as a rule of thumb, on this criteria, price reductions of 5% or more start to maybe be interested. That depends on the market. If the market's dropping, you want bigger price reductions. If the market's increasing, you'll go to less price reductions. So that just gives you an idea of what price we tend to look at in today's market, which is relatively buoyant. Last price reduction, that's less relevant if it's a big reduction, and starts to become more relevant if it's only a small deduction, because we want to be finding vendors that are motivated. So recent price reductions, they tend to be the most motivated of vendors. Something might have happened, change in circumstances, they've dropped the price because they really need to move. So if you've got both of those, i.e. big discount, recent price reduction, fantastic. If you've only got one of them, it can still work. It's just a case of understanding which one you need and kind of when, really. So that's the third option. We're looking at price reductions, ideally recently, and anything 5% or above. So as you scroll down here, you've got a number of potential options here. I'm just going to save a couple. So this one's already saved, so it ticks the boxes for one of the other criteria as well, which is great. Save. So I'm just saving these randomly at the moment because I want to show you something near the end, but hopefully the principle of which property deals we've got gives you a good idea. As I said, you need to factor in as well the condition, if it works for you based on a refurb model or based on a ready-to-go rental. Okay, next up we're going to be looking at property discrepancies. So we're looking at prices here. So we're going to be looking at the map section next. If we click on this map area, oops, scroll down. Again, change the filters if you need to, but what we're looking at here is to go a little bit tighter on the listings. So the ones with stars are the ones we've already saved. The ones with the Zs are ones that are just kind of normal listings. Okay, that should be fine. So what we're trying to find here is if this was, let's say, we were happy with the whole of Leeds, but we were really happy with this particular location. we want to start looking at properties that might have some price discrepancies on the listings. So let me show you some examples of what it means. That's a 3-bed on for 135, 145, 140. So their prices are relatively close. There's nothing massively different. That's quite a difference. 70 grand, 105. So that's only on for 70 when all the others have been over 100 so far. Definitely save that. Could be a beauty. If we scroll down, oops. It's 110, 130, 115, and it's just as simple as this really. It's just a case of going through the listings and the map and seeing which properties are slightly different. So 108, that's not too bad, 150. So that's 99. That one's 130. That one's 146. So this 99 one is quite a difference in price. So again, I'd save that. So hopefully you can see we're just trying to pick out the hidden gems of prices that we wouldn't have spotted on the other listing kind of criteria that we chose, but we can spot here. So that's 120. That one's 125. That one's 150. It's probably too close price range for me to add them. This one's very expensive, but these two are quite close on prices, so I'd leave that in. And it's as simple as that. It's just a case of going through the different listings and seeing where those price kind of differences lie. Let's see if we pick up any more just quickly. 85, 95. Well, they're both showing up on the same section. That's 95 and that's 85. It's enough of a difference for me to look at. It's over 10%. So I'd add that in and save that listing. So hopefully you can see we start to build up a bit of a picture of what properties are going to be suitable in our area using these 4 kind of filtered techniques, and this is just 4 out of a number of ones that we can kind of look at, but this just gives you an insight in terms of how to start looking at the deals. Now in this listing, the next thing that we do to, I suppose, make the most of our time and make it most efficient is to try and structure which ones you're going to be doing viewings on. So I would then go through all of these property listings individually and start to look at them a little bit more detailed. Is the floor sizes, the layout, the map, the descriptions, does everything meet your criteria? If it doesn't, don't hesitate to drop it. Just click delete out the save list and then narrow down your shortlist from there. Once you've got a very tight list based on all of the properties in there you know work for your criteria, the next stage is looking at the agents, so who's actually selling the properties. And this is because if you're maybe working Monday, Friday, and you only have evenings and weekends free to do viewings, you don't want to be kind of spreading your time too much and viewing one property with one agent, one property with another, third with another. You want to try and keep them as condensed as possible. Now that's not always possible, but where you can, it just brings a little bit of efficiency to the table for you. So when we're looking at these listings, as you can see now, if we scroll down, we can start to get a feel for who has the most listings. So William H. Brown here has got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So these guys have got a lot of listings. They might be different branches. So as you can see here, LS28, LS6, LS28. But what we're trying to find, Hunters has got 1, Reed Drains 1, Hunters 2. See, Hunters marketed by Pudsey, LS28. Bradford BD1. So Hunters have got 2 agents. So they've got an agent in Bradford and an agent in Pudsey. So each agent only actually has 1 listing, whereas William Brown has a number of listings with different agents. So this William H. Brown from LS28 has got 1, 2, 3. So I would be calling William H. Brown first and viewing these 3 first, and then looking at the others. It just allows you, as I said, to bring a little bit of efficiency really to the table, based on the on your criteria list, which is going to be the most important to look at and consider. So hopefully that gives you a bit of an idea on some of the Zoopla options. I'm just going to jump back to the slides. Bear with me a second.